Welcome to Millennium Daytime Bulletin. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi and you're watching Millennium News Channel 24. Today I'm bringing you the latest updates from around the world. Let's begin with today's top headlines. Trump condemns Zelensky remarks that war's end is far away. Markets sink as Trump confirms tariff on Canada, Mexico and China. Two killed, 11 injured after car rams crowd in German city of Mannheim. Infants and young children are being raped as a weapon of war in Sudan, UNICEF said. Israel launches air attacks near Syria's Tartus. Pakistani and Afghan forces clash at Vidal border crossing. Trump says 25% tariff on Mexican and Canadian imports will start Tuesday with no room for delay. Global markets slide as stocks tumble and commodities show mixed trends. Nottingham Football Club 1-1 Ipswich match sells penalty shootout saves Saints Forest to quarter-finals. Champions Trophy 2025 Kiwis done, Aussies next for Indian spin quartet. Now let's look at the details. A statement by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky saying a deal to end the war with Russia was a very faraway thought has drawn a furious response by Donald Trump. America will not put up with it for much longer, the US president said in a social media post before accusing Zelensky of not wanting peace. A summit of mostly European leaders in London on Sunday agreed with a 4-point plan to guarantee Ukraine's defense in the event of a peace deal with Russia. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. Also, what are they thinking? Trump said, apparently referring to the summit held 2 days after his fiery clash with Zelensky at the Oval Office. The summit hosted by the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was intended as a show of support for Ukraine and an attempt to reduce differences between Western countries over Ukraine. Britain and France said they were on the working with the European-led solution to the conflict. Also, after the meeting, Zelensky said a deal to end the war between Ukraine and Russia was still very far away. He added that he expected the US to continue backing Ukraine despite his own fraught relation with Trump. I believe that Ukraine has a strong enough partnership with the United States of America, Zelensky said late on Sunday, but on Monday, Trump responded by reiterating his view that Zelensky stood in the way of peace negotiation. This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer, is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he's as America's backing. He wrote on his Truth social media platform that during a news briefing later on Monday, Trump once again said that Zelensky should be more appreciative for the aid he has received from the United States in the 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. During the confrontation in front of cameras at the White House, both Trump of course, the US President J.D. Vance also expressed anger about what they perceived as Zelensky's lack of gratitude. Just say thank you, Vance demanded at one point. He added that he would provide an update on the minerals deal late on Tuesday. After the London summit, the UK and France suggested a European coalition of the willing to defend Ukraine and to make sure Russia would not invade after a peace deal is negotiated. President Donald Trump has said he's moving forward with a 25% tariff on goods imported from Canada and Mexico into the United States, adding that the time has run out to reach a deal. US stock market sank in response to the situation and the measures which he has threatened since earlier this year and said would now go into effect on Tuesday. An additional 10% tariff on Chinese import is also expected to come into the force, leaving all three of the America's top three trading partners facing difficulties and significantly higher trade barriers than just by a few weeks ago. No room left for Mexico or for Canada, Trump said at the White House on Monday. The tariff, they are all set. They go into effect tomorrow, Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly told reporters later on Monday. Let's be clear, if Trump is imposing tariff, we are ready. She said Ottawa planned to impose retaliatory tariff against United States import of $155 billion, with the first tranche of $30 billion ready immediately to be levied on everyday goods like pasta, clothing and perfume. Joly noted that Canada did not want a trade war but would hit back if the United States started one. The foreign minister also added that the tariff were an existential threat to us, with the thousands of jobs in Canada at stake. Mexico and China have said they have retaliatory options and they can go against the US tariffs, raising the prospect of a widening trade war. Trump threatened to impose the tariff, which are a tax added to a product when it enters a country, on Canada, Mexico and China in response to what he said was the unacceptable flow of the illegal drug and illegal immigrants into the United States. All the tariffs were supposed to take effect last month until the United States agreed to a 1-month delay for Canada and Mexico, pulling its North American neighbors back from the brink of a potentially damaging trade war. But Trump went ahead with the imposing of a 10% tariff on the Chinese export to the United States in February, meaning goods from the country now face a levy of at least 20%. Trump has long maintained that tariffs are a useful tool to correct trade imbalances and protect U.S. manufacturing. He has largely dismissed concern that the measures risk economic damage in the United States, despite the close ties, especially in the North America, where businesses have enjoyed decades of free trade. What they'll have to do is to build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariff. German authorities say a car ramming incident in the southwestern city of Mannheim that killed 2 people on Monday was a deliberate attack, but it did not appear to have been politically or religiously motivated. Police said on Monday night the 2 dead were 83-year-old woman and a 54-year-old man. 11 others have seemed to be injured badly. The attacker purposefully targeted and struck people at high speed, police said at a press conference, noting that authorities originally thought they were responding to a traffic accident. Also, the public prosecutor, who is Romeo Schussler, said that there have been concrete evidence that the suspected attacker suffered from a psychological illness. Police searched the suspect's house on Monday, the prosecutor added. Mannheim police said that they had arrested and the suspect that have been there for the launching of a large-scale manhunt in the city center shortly after the midday local time, 6 a.m. European time. The suspect is a 40-year-old man who is a German national from the neighboring Rhineland state, the police added. We are deeply shocked by this heinous, inhumane attack on the peaceful people, said the Christian Specht, the mayor of Mannheim, in a statement posted on the city website. Our thoughts are with the dead and injured, their families and friends. Mikla Sela, a worker at the restaurant in the city center, told the CNN and Millennium that he saw a black car driven by at a high speed. He said he later heard several people screaming and saw a man with a white jacket lying on the floor. Friedrich Merz, who is the leader of the Christian Democratic Union, that is the CDU, and likely Germany's next chancellor, said he was shocked by Monday incident and as well as the other several terrible acts that have been happening and that have rocked the country in recent months. Germany must become a safe country again. We will work towards this with utmost determination, Merz said. Germany has been rocked by a string of deadly car ramming attacks in recent months. In December, a vehicle plowed into a Christmas market in the Magdeburg, killing 6 people, including a 9-year-old boy. The suspect is a 50-year-old Saudi citizen who lived in Germany for more than a decade and worked to help Saudis leave his home country. Also, social media posts showed he was a fervent critic of Islam. In February, a person drove a Mini Cooper into demonstrators in Munich, killing a mother and her child and injuring more than 30 others. The suspect is a 24-year-old Afghan man. We'll have to see how the issue unfolds in a couple of more days. Armed forces in Sudan's ongoing civil war are perpetrating systematic sexual violence against young children, with 1-year-old the youngest survivor of the rape. According to a new report from the UNICEF, the United Nations Children Agency, the UNICEF report released on Tuesday said that at least 221 cases of child rape have been recorded since the beginning of 2024, along with an additional 77 reported cases of sexual assault against children. 4 1-year-olds were among those who have survived the sexual assaults, while other 12 survivors are children under the age of 5, according to the report. Of the survivors, the rape that have been 66% of girls and 33% are boys. The data compiled by the gender-based violence service provider in Sudan only represent a small fraction of the total child rape cases, UNICEF said, noting that the survivors, their families, and even frontline workers are often unwilling or unable to report the crimes due to challenges around assessing services, cultural stigmas, and the fear of retribution from the armed groups. The report, which detailed first-hand accounts of sexual violence against children from December 2024 and January 2025, found that children were sexually abused during invasion of cities, while fleeing danger, while being held against their will or in detention centers, and sometime in exchange for food or other essential supplies. Sudan has been crippled by war for nearly 2 years as forces loyal to the two rival generals fight for control of the country. The General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the leader of the Sudanese Armed Forces, that is SAF, and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hamidti, who heads the paramilitary Rapid Support Force, that is RSF, has viciously completed for the territory in a country still reeling from the massacre of tens of thousands of people in the early 2000s and the displacement of millions more. Also, since April 2023, more than 28,700 people have been killed, according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Initiative, and more than 11 million have been forced to flee their homes. UNICEF received first-hand report of armed men storming homes and demanding at gunpoint the family's surrender of their girls, often while violently attacking the family members or raping the girls in front of their loved ones, according to the reports. Frontline workers have seen an increase of violence against the internally displaced people living in shelters or who are sheltering at informal sites, UNICEF said, noting that the risk of sexual violence is high within these communities, especially against children. Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes in Syria since the former President Bashar al-Assad was toppled in December. Israel has carried out airstrikes near Syria's Mediterranean port of the city of Tartus, Syrian state media has reported. An Israeli army statement on Monday said that its forces struck a military site where the weapons belonging to the previous Syrian regime were stored in the area of Kardaha, the hometown of the deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, some 60 kilometers, that is 37 miles, north of the Tartus port. Syrian state media, also the agency Sana, reported that the airstrikes carried out by the Israeli occupation aircraft on the surroundings of the Tartus city were recording human losses so far. Also adding that the civil defense and the specialized team are working to confirm the location of the targets in the wake of the lightning opposition offensive last December that toppled the Syria's longtime leader Bashar al-Assad. Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes strikes on the Syrian military assets in what is said was a bid to prevent them from falling into the hostile hands. Also, the last Tuesday, the Israeli army said it carried out airstrikes targeting military sites containing weapons in the southern Syria just days after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called for demilitarizing the area. Israel has moved forces into the United Nations monitored demilitarized zone within the Syria after al-Assad's removal, a move that violated the 1974 disengagement agreement with Syria. Israel has also taken control of area outside the buffer zone, including the Mount Hermon, and has conducted repeated bombing raids on the military sites. Last week at Syria's National Dialogue Conference, participants affirmed their rejection of the provocative statements by Netanyahu and urged the international community to pressure Israel to stop any aggression and violation, condemning the Israeli incursion into the Syrian territory. The conference also opposed Israel's attempts to stoke sectarian tensions by indicating it was willing to protect Syria's minority Druze community, many of whom live in the city, and at least one person have been killed as Pakistani and Afghan security forces have traded fire at the recently closed main border crossing between the two countries. Afghanistan Ministry of Interior Affairs confirmed on Monday that one member of its security forces had been killed and the two injured in the overnight clashes at the Torkham crossing, a vital transit point that Pakistan closed last month after the disrupting its neighbors' construction of a new border post. Two Pakistani security officials speaking on condition of anonymity told the news agency Reuters that the members of their security forces have been wounded in the clashes. Also, the conflict erupted on the first working day of the Islamic holy month of the Ramadan, when the food imports from the Pakistan usually peak in the Afghanistan. The fighting stranded about 5,000 trucks filled with essential goods on the both sides of the border in harsh winter conditions. The conflict could exacerbate the challenges confronting the crisis-hit Afghan economy at a time when the millions of people are at a risk of hunger and about half the population needs humanitarian assistance to survive. According to the United Nations, in the recent past, both countries have closed Torkham and the southwestern Chaman border crossing after deadly shooting and crossfires happened. Pakistan said it faces attack from Afghan soil, a charge the Taliban government denies. In December, Pakistani military aircraft carried out strikes that killed dozens of people on the Afghan territory. Abdul Mateen Khani, the spokesman for the Interior Ministry in Kabul, accused Pakistan on Monday of initiating the overnight violence, after which the Afghan security forces went into the defensive mode and responded after attempts at the dialogue failed. Also, a Pakistani official speaking on condition of anonymity told the Associated Press that the Taliban opened fire, the unprovoked, and targeting the Pakistan's border post with automatic weapons. Pakistani personnel returned fire, the official said. So far, the closure of Torkham has caused at least $15 million in losses, according to the Yusuf Afridi, the president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industries for Pakistan's Khyber district, where the crossing is located. Shakirullah Safi, the chief executive of the Nangarhar Chamber of Commerce and Investment in Afghanistan, said Afghan traders were losing $5 million a day because of the closure. Trade between the two countries was worth more than $1.6 billion in 2024, according to the Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. President Donald Trump said on Monday, March 3, that 25% of taxes on import from Mexico and Canada would start on Tuesday, sparking renewed fear of a North American trade war that already showed signs of pushing up inflation and hindering growth. Tomorrow, tariff 25% on Canada and and 25% on Mexico, and that will start, Mr. Trump told reporters in the Roosevelt Room. They're going to have a tariff. Mr. Trump has said that the tariff are to force the two U.S. neighbors to step up against the fight against the fentanyl trafficking and stop the illegal immigration. But Mr. Trump has already indicated that he wants to even the trade imbalances with both the countries as well as and push more factories to relocate in the United States. His comment quickly rattled the United States stock market with the S&P 500 index down 2% in Monday, March 3 afternoon trading. It's a sign of the political and economic risk that Mr. Trump feels compelled to take given the possibility of higher inflation and possible demise of a decade-long trade partnership with Mexico and Canada. Yet the Trump administration remains confident that the tariffs are best choice to boost U.S. manufacturing and attract foreign investment. Before Mr. Trump's statement on tariffs in response to a question, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that the computer chip maker TSMC had expanded its investment in the United States because of the possibility of separate 25% tariffs. Mr. Trump provided a one-month delay in February as both Mexico and Canada promised the concessions. But Mr. Trump said Monday, March 3, that there was no room left for the Mexico or for Canada to avoid the steep new tariffs, which were also set to tax Canadian energy products such as oil and electricity at a lower 10% rate. If the Trump is imposing tariffs, we are ready, said the Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly. We are ready with the $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we are ready with the first tranche of tariff, which is the $30 billion. Ms. Joly said Canada has a very strong border plan and explained that to the Trump that officials the last week that she said the diplomatic efforts are continuing. She spoke after the Mr. Trump had made his comments ready. Now bringing you latest updates on today's market trends. Global stock market faced a sharp downturn today with major indices across the Americas seeing significant losses. In the United States, the Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled 649.67 points, that is minus 1.48%, while the broader S&P 500 fell 104.78 points, that is a decline of 1.76%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq experienced the steepest decline, shedding 497.09 points, that is 2%, reflecting a major sell-off in the technology sector. The Russell 2000, which tracks small cap stock, also dropped by 60.83 points, that is minus 2.81%, highlighting broader market weakness beyond the large cap stocks. Also, the investor sentiment appears to have taken a hit as reflected in the surge of the volatility index, that is VIX, which dumped 16.05% to signaling increased market uncertainty and risk aversion. Canadian market followed the US trend with the S&P TSX Composite declining by 391.88 points, that is 1.54%, and the S&P TSX 60 falling 22.04 points, that is 1.44%, pointing to concern in the resource-heavy company. Also, in Latin America, Brazil's Bovespa index suffered a significant drop of 1.60%, losing nearly 2,000 points, reflecting investor concern about the economic condition and potential global headwinds. However, Child's S&P IPSA index bucked the trend, gaining 12.84 points, that is 0.18% rise, suggesting relative resilience in the Chilean market. Meanwhile, the Mexico's S&P BMV IPC index fell by 24 points, that is 0.47% of the declining, and though the decline was the less pronounced compared to its regional peers, it was devastating. The widespread market downturn could be attributed to growing economic uncertainty, concerns over the inflation, or expectation of central bank policy changes. With heightened volatility and investors shifting to a risk-off approach, markets may remain under pressure in the near term. Also, eyes will be upcoming on the economic data releases and the central bank statement for potential signals on the future market directions. Commodity markets saw mixed movements today, with energy prices declining while the natural gas edged slightly higher. WTI crude oil fell by 0.53% to $68.01 per barrel, while the Brent crude oil dropped 0.72% to $70.65, reflecting the ongoing concern about the global demand and economic conditions. Natural gas, however, saw a modest gain of 0.34%, rising to $4.14, possibly due to a seasonal demand fluctuation or supply concerns. In the metal sector, gold experienced a slight decline, falling 0.09% to $2,898 per ounce, as investors balanced inflationary pressures with the broader economic uncertainties. Silver also dipped by 0.57% to reach $32, tracking the overall downturn in precious metals. Agricultural commodities showed similar trends, with the soya bean slipping 0.72% to $10.4, reflecting the potential shifting in the global supply and demand. The overall commodity market movement suggests investors are weighing economic conditions, inflation trends, and geopolitical risk influencing both energy and metal tradings. Markets may remain volatile as traders react to the further economic data and policy shift. Overall, today's commodity markets trend indicate that investors are weighing multiple factors, including economic data, geopolitical developments, and central bank policies. Volatility and the volatility will remain a key theme, and traders are likely to remain cautious as they wait for the further signals on inflation and with the interest rate and the global trade conditions. We'll be right back after a short break. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi. Keep watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back after the break. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi, and you're watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin. Now let's look at some sports highlights. Keeper Matt Sell, who was the hero saving Jack Taylor's low effort as the host went through 5-4 on spot kicks after the Ryan Yates had cancelled out visiting striker George Hurst opener to the force extra time. Also, the watching of England manager Thomas Tuchel preparing for his first squad announcement next week before the World Cup qualifier with the Albania and the Latvia may not have been gleaned much for a dull game, which struggled to get going until the second half. Taylor miss was the only one of the shootout, with the midfielder having also missed a penalty when the Ipswich were upset by League 2 AFC Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup in the similar fashion back in August. Forest also beat League 1 Exeter 4-2 in a shootout in the fourth round, and the victory continues their sensational season. Their attention now turns to the Premier League and securing Champions League qualification. Nuno Espirito Santo's third place side host Manchester City on Saturday, with the reigning champions just a point behind in the fourth spot and a cluster of clubs chasing both of them. Every FA Cup drew, we have to practice penalties, said Nuno. We kept the same order as Exeter, We did really well. They were good penalties, I believe, it making the part of the game preparations. Also, it's dedication. It's not nice at all. Anxiety, nervous, a mixture of emotion and a try not to watch and just to watch and wait for the noise to come back. What New Zealand suffered on Sunday could well torment Australia on Tuesday. Kiwi captain Mitchell Santner, a man of few words, admitted that New Zealand were squeezed by spin after Varun Chakravarti came off the bench to form a quartet of tweakers, even as the 5 wickets haul helped India claim a 44-run win in the final league match of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. Australia, watching India's strangulation of their neighbours, will realise that the bagging that of the World Cup and the Champions Trophy at the same time might not be particularly very easy. More pointedly, the Indian spinner won't allow them to saunter away with another title, watching the New Zealand being cut down to the size while chasing a target of 249. A few demons would already cropped up in the Aussie mind. With Dubai filled to the brim with vocal Indian fans, India showed their might as a terrific white ball unit, which after missing out on the winning of the World Cup has gone on to reinvent itself as an even more formidable outfit that could be hard to overcome in any conditions. The win wasn't good as were the near perfect outing that they had during the memorable run to the World Cup final on home soil in 2023. More importantly, having succumbed on a similar slow pitch in the World Cup final and the later to the Sri Lanka in Colombo, the win against New Zealand will give India enough confidence that with a good depth in the batting and bowling, they can now overcome such conditions with smell. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for more updates. Log in to stay updated with the latest news on our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Millennium News 24. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Millennium News 24. You can watch us on Android and iOS devices as well as on Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and all smart TV platforms. Enjoy entertainment and latest news with us. Download the Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA for Android, and Millennium News on Google. Thank you for being part of Millennium News Channel 24.